The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good morning. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And I hope that audio is not as loud for our viewers as it is for me, because I think you're trying to give me a hearing loss.
No, I think the speaker in the studio for you needs to be turned down a little bit.
I think so, because my eardrums are, they're bleeding. So, so the big news today is City Councilor Mike Miozza has opted not to run for re-election or even run for the Charter Commission.
It looks that way. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Yeah. I found it interesting in his letter, though, the second to last paragraph, where he was talking about coming together and communicating and working together, as a team. And he spoke about the acrimony and the dissent of the citizens. Meanwhile, that acrimony and dissent, and we're not calling anybody out here, was created by a small group of individuals, which created havoc for the city council and for a lot of people in the city. Meanwhile, this candidate, no longer candidate, this now private citizen, aligned himself with a lot of those people that continued to do some of the acrimony and dissent that happened. But the one thing he did acknowledge is that the people of Fall River are now getting actively responsible and taking an active participation in city government.
Yeah, I hope he's right, and I have to agree. I did read that paragraph, but obviously, as I've said before, I'm a big fan of acrimony. I am. I mean, look, I think the acrimony should be controlled, just like controlled violence. Everybody knows I'm a big boxing fan and MMA fan, and I'm actually a licensed trainer in both of those. And but the fact is that I think acrimony is good. I don't believe this baloney of let's have a team and let's all march in lockstep, because, as I always say, the last time everybody marched in lockstep, they were doing the goose step. And the problem is that's how things move. Differing opinions, sometimes severely differing opinions, because we have the old thesis and antithesis and the synthesis. That's the way things move forward. Everybody, very rarely is someone 100% wrong or 100% right. And somewhere between those two factions and opinions is a better synthesis, a better opinion. And this is propaganda again by the government. It's like, let us control you. We have your best interest at heart. And as one of the quotes, and I'm paraphrasing now because I like to get them accurate, and it's not going to be accurate. But one of the quotes I read at a past council meeting was, the greatest tyranny is when government attempts to do what they think is right for the people and impose their will on the people. And that's basically what they're doing, is saying, listen, shut up. We're smarter than you. We know what's good for you, and just listen to us. And if you disagree, we're going to put these labels on you. You're negative. You're obstructionist. This is acrimonious, and it's baloney. I do not. I have always said I'm very, 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 very solid behind parliamentary procedure. I think that we should go by the rules of order. But I also love the House of Commons. I like people getting up and voicing very vigorously their opinions. And so I disagree with Mike. And Mike and we had Mike on our show. And as I said, I think Mike was, a good city councilor. We agreed on some issues, we disagreed, but he did do his research, and he did try to, you could talk to him, and I had many conversations with him. I'm kind of sad to see him not run because, there are conflicting opinions on that. There are people who are saying that he's cutting and running because he doesn't want to be in the fray, because I think they see the storm coming in September and November. And other people are saying, yeah, too bad, I'm sorry. And so I guess it's an individual opinion, but as far as I'm concerned, I hope he's right, that the people are engaged and invested. I think they are. They were during the recall, and I hope they continue to be that way, but I vehemently disagree with his position about acrimony. That's absolute horse poo-poo, okay? I won't even say excrement this time, okay? And I won't say equine, it's the fact is that, look, healthy debate is what this country was founded on. Gee, the Continental Congress, they almost came to blows a few times. There were people calling for people to be hung, and they were traitors, and look what we got out of it. We got the United States of America. I mean, are we going to forget our history? Are we so involved and worried about what other cultures are bringing to this country that we forget what this nation was founded on? We were supposed to be a melting pot and a country of people with differing backgrounds, differing opinions. And from that, we get a synthesis that creates a great nation. And I don't believe for a minute that disagreeing with the government is a bad thing. As a matter of fact, it's a requirement. Our founding fathers said when they created this nation, it is not only our right, but our obligation to overthrow a government that's not acting on behalf of the people. So that's my tirade, so you can go now, CJ.
Well, it's interesting, Chip, because we're looking at a massive change of the community here in Fall River, but we're also looking at a massive change across the country. We're looking at the fact that the voter is no longer going to be beguiled or lied to, and they're not going to have the information presented to them that needs to be presented. I think when you look at the presidential race, for instance, you have Hillary Clinton who's putting ropes around herself to keep the parade moving and keep the people away from her. But, you have a gentleman who wasn't given a snowball's chance in hell of even getting, through the Iowa caucuses, which haven't happened yet. And he's coming out in the polls at the top of the heap, Bernie Sanders out of Vermont. And why? Why is he coming out that way? Why? Because he's speaking to the voters with something they understand. He's talking about the difficulty in paying your bills, the difficulty in paying your taxes, the difficulty in keeping your job, the need to have 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet.
Can we get him to a city council meeting? Maybe they'll listen to him. I'm sorry. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, no, I think it's funny because it's so true. This is a man who didn't have a snowball's chance of even, popping up on the radar, and now he is, blindsiding everyone because he's doing something that I've been telling candidates to do for years. Okay, don't talk to the electorate. Don't talk to the voters like they're idiots. That used to work all the time. And in Fall River especially, didn't even talk to them and said, here's a chow mein sandwich, I want your vote, and you got elected. You got to stop that. And I had a conversation with a political candidate this week in regards to the pie in the sky dreams, what I call the Wonderland creation. And those are all great. Aim high, come in low. But people of Fall River don't want to hear that anymore. The people of Fall River want to hear, what are you going to do to get rid of this $10 fee? What are you going to do to get rid of the pay-as-you-throw? How am I supposed to pay for my prescriptions? Okay, I'm a retiree, and I got to decide whether to eat cat food or get my drugs. I mean, you and I have spoken about this over and over again. People want answers now. They don't want promises. They don't want promises. They want absolute plans, things that you're going to stand firm to, things you're going to talk about and be honest about. Stop feeding me the diatribe and the line of Eastern equine excrement. All right,
Nice.
let's stop.
Triple E.
Triple E, that's
Triple
right.
E, that's it.
Let's stop with it. Let's talk to the voter as, for once, that they're knowledgeable.
Well, the voters are beginning to pay attention and are also looking around because for years, the people, Fall River fed them this baloney. We're saving the city with the casino. We're saving the city with Amazon. We're saving the city with, purple bags. We're saving the city with a trash fee. We're saving it. And then we look around and we go, all we're doing is paying more. The city is getting deeper and deeper in debt. The residents are becoming lower and lower income. I mean, I've lived on my street for over 40 years now, and there are 3 houses for sale on my street. In the 40 years I've been on that street, I've only seen a house go up for sale once, and that was because the person was retiring and leaving the area. Houses, in that neighborhood were, they were kind of family oriented, and they didn't, your neighbors were your neighbors. It's a quiet neighborhood. It's a decent neighborhood, and you didn't see that. Now there's 3 for sale signs on my street. It's not a long street, and I think one of them's already been sold, and a second one I think has been sold because I saw that neighbor loading a couple of their 2 cars. They were loading stuff in, so I'm assuming that they sold that house. But as I drive up and down Fall River, Eastern Avenue, I see signs, house for sale, down here, price reduced. People are just bailing, and we look down the road 15 miles, and I see the mayor of New Bedford talking about, look what we're doing. We've built this mega complex to bring in windmills and stuff, and how, this is the energy conservation is the thing of the future. And what are they doing? They're bringing in shipping, commercial shipping. God, David Steinoff mentioned that during a state reps race. It was like, but no, our Office of Economic Disaster wants to turn the Taunton River into a place that rivals Newport and the Cape. Talk about another idiotic, and we have a great deep water port. Talk about nonsense. And, they've got the pablum that they've been feeding people for years, and they're washing it down with the Kool-Aid. But people are sick of it. They're tired of it. They're running out of money, and they're running out of patience. And I'll tell you, good. I'm glad, because it's about time you look around and look at New Bedford. And look, I'm a Durfee grad. I hate New Bedford. I rooted against New Bedford, still do, every Thanksgiving.
And we lose every Thanksgiving.
I know, well, that's true. But I still root against them. And every basketball game, but you look down the road, and they were prepared for a casino. It wasn't just a promise with no plan or a half-ass plan. They actually had a plan in place. And now they voted almost 3-1 to have so they got a shot at that for an infusion to their economy. They've got this shipping. What is it, $138 million complex they've built over?
Yep.
$138 million. A complex. And you think that stuff's going to go away? No. This is the wave of the future. A technology for energy conservation, and they're gonna refine that port, and they're gonna bring new and different things into that port, and that is going to help New Bedford. Why? Because somebody in their Office of Economic Development has their head somewhere beside, squarely up their derriere.
Well, Chip, the thing is, the city of Fall River was approached once, okay, for Sea Shipping. Try saying that a few times fast. And Kenny Fiola advised the company that Fall River cannot handle this because we don't have the place to store the items that are brought in. The items aren't stored. They're brought in, they're loaded on trucks, and out they go. And this was coming from New Jersey, the port of New Jersey, which is an international port. It comes in. Short sea shipping is a huge industry right now because the items come into these huge megalithic ports in places like New Jersey and San Diego or Los Angeles, wherever it may come in there. And then they are disseminated from there by short sea shipping, and it goes up and down the coasts. And it's taken to other venues, more particularly places like Fall River, where it comes in and we say, oh, okay, that's a great thing. We came up with a good idea here. But Fall River said, no, we don't need it. We can't handle it. Now, when you look up the definition of self-serving idiot, okay, there are two pictures there, okay? And they happen to be from the Fiola dynasty. If Kenny Fiola really cared about the city of Fall River, truly cared, he would either A, start doing his job for the benefit of the city and not for the benefit of Kenny Fiola, or B, he would resign for the betterment of the city of Fall River. When I was doing some investigations into a couple of the deals, and I went to the state and various state offices, everything kept getting referred back to the state representative from the 6th Bristol District, State Representative Carol Fiola. Now, isn't that kind of like saying we're going to put the fox in charge of the hen house? Because all the information in regards to all these deals had to come from her office? That just did not seem appropriate. Now, many people have said, because everyone's a Facebook warrior, that you do nothing but file complaints, CJ. You know what? I don't file complaints. I can't say this enough to people, and Chip, you know this. I go to the source. I go to the point person and I say, look, this is what I consider wrong. Tell me why it's not wrong. Show me the reason why. And they say, well, I know it's wrong, but I had to vote for it, otherwise I wouldn't have a seat. They wouldn't re-elect me. Or I had to vote for it because it meant jobs, even though it was illegal or wrong. And I turn around and I tell them, well, look, if you know it's wrong, correct it. Well, I'm not going to correct it because I'll lose my seat. You go and you file your complaint because that's what you're best at doing. The moment you tell me go and file the complaint, I'm going to file the complaint. Because obviously, you don't want to have some constructive dialogue, some constructive debate. I'm not saying I'm always right, and I'm not saying I'm always wrong. And as you said at the opening of the show, we have, the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. Well, that's what politics is about, and that's what government is about. But for some reason in Fall River, that's not what it's about. In Fall River, it's all about, I'm in charge and you're an idiot, so you do what I tell you. And you know what? They're finding out very rapidly that that's not the case. And when I have to call, the Attorney General or the governor or the commissioner from the Department of Revenue, and they say, Fall River again. Now, we've had judges who have said this. We've got commissioners that are saying this. Chester at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education said it over and over again. Fall River again. What does that say about Fall River? Besides the fact that we're the laughingstock of Massachusetts, and I firmly believe, minimally, the East Coast, if not the country.
Well, the only thing we do better is screw up. And that's the thing. The problem is Fall River always leads the state in screwing up. We don't lead the state in job creation. We don't lead in anything positive. That's the reason people say, oh, they look at us like we're, they look at us like we're all crazy down here. And it's because what do we lead in? We lead in, we have, 23.3% of the people living below the poverty level. We're always at the top of the unemployment scale. We have things like this, which are obviously a conflict of interest. I mean, Representative Fiola should recuse herself on any issue that has to do with her husband. I don't know why the state doesn't do this, but this is what government does on all levels. Except there are very, very few things that Fall River has elevated to an art form, but screwing up is something that we've elevated to an art form in this community, because look at what we do. I mean, look at the state. Is it uncommon? No. Look, as I've said time and time again, as far as I'm concerned, government is a necessary evil. It's not your father. It's a necessary evil. They're there to oversee our tax money and supposedly to appropriate that tax money for our best interest, which they don't. Example, state level. We voted to reduce the sales tax. That's not going to happen. And will every state rep get booted out, that's what should happen? Every state rep and every state senator who refuses to listen to what the voters said and reduce the sales tax, I don't care what kind of excuse they come up with, should be gone. But you know what the problem is? The voters. And hopefully, Fall River right now leads in screwing up. But you know something? We're beginning to lead in another area. We led in the uprising of the people. We were the first city ever to have a recall and ever to oust the mayor. Let's hope we can continue to do that in the next election. Obviously, the complexion of our city council is going to change. You have basically Mike Miozza not running. You're going to have Long is technically, I don't even know. I call him a he's not really an incumbent because he's only been here a few months. But okay, so you've got Paul De Silva's seat that is being filled, but technically he was elected, so he's not going to. He was the guy that served most of the term, so he's not going to be. That's two. There are rumors abounding that City Councilor Dan Rigo may not run. So that's three. If that becomes true, that rumor, and to my knowledge, he hasn't pulled papers. Am I correct in that, CJ?
I haven't seen a report of him pulling papers
yet. All right,
yet.
he hasn't even pulled papers yet. And I think he's in political trouble based on his performance during the budget, and I'll say that, without any hesitation. And then we have Councilor Jazel Correa, who's running for mayor. So we are technically, because I consider Steve Long a new city councilor, even if he gets, quote, we get these euphemisms and we can debate whether he's technically re-elected, because he wasn't technically elected. He was, elevated and appointed, but they'll say, well, he was elected, but no, he was 11th or 12th. He wasn't elected.
Actually, according to law, he was not elected.
That's right.
He filled the seat. On the ballot, he cannot appear as a candidate for re-election. We've had this issue before. Jazel, if he had run, would not be listed as a candidate for re-election. So this isn't the first time this has happened. And I mean, when Gabe Andrade ran for school committee after he took office midterm, he could not put candidate for re-election. So they are not candidate for re-election.
So we're going to have 4 new city councilors.
One way or the other, we're going to have...
Well, at least 3.
At least 3.
I mean, the jury is still out on Councilor Rigo. But the fact is, we're going to have at least 3 new city councilors.
Exactly.
And maybe if the people rise up, maybe even more than that.
Right.
So, maybe are we going to have it's the 20-year anniversary of 1995, the time that we replaced the largest percentage of city councils in history.
Over half.
We got rid of 5.
Right.
Over half. That's right. We got rid of 5 councilors in 1995. And is it going to be the anniversary? Are we going to get rid of a mayor that served less than, basically less than a term, and get rid of a whole bunch of city councilors? Well, you know something? I would be proud to say that, look, we've turned the corner. Instead of learning, instead of leading the city and state in screwing up, we're beginning to lead the state in a political revolution, because the only way we're ever going to fix this government in this city is to let every single city councilor school committee person and mayor know that if you don't serve the best interest of the people, if you don't represent the people's interest, you're getting fired, and quickly. You're not going to serve more than one term, or maybe even less, because you know something? That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it is supposed to be. You know, we can blame government all we want, but we are the government. Because if we put them in,
We can
and we
take them
keep
out.
them in, and we keep them in, it's our fault. If we put them in and take them out, if everybody knows that something has to be done in order for them to keep their job, guess what? If they really want to keep their asses in those seats, they will do something. And that's the only way you're ever going to get rid of a Kenny Fiola. That's the only way we're ever going to fix this city, is when they know that you can't have 300 people go up and speak against the fee and then have the chief of staff go up and say, oh, these people, you know, the freeloaders, they just don't want to pay $5 more in taxes. I'm not going to cut my administrators' salaries because they don't want to pay $5. Well, $5 for taxes, $10 for a trash fee, higher stormwater. And by the time you get done, you're talking real money. And you're talking money that people that are running a household, 22% of this city, under 15%. It's a travesty. But the only people that can fix it are we, the people. So we're here. We've been here for a while. We keep saying this, and we're going to continue to say it. And I'm going to be saying it in September, and I'll be saying it again in November. Let's shock the world again.
You know, Chip, it's always very interesting to see how things change in Fall River so dramatically. And it's also very scary because you can't understand why when they say that. But, you know, this is Fall River at its best. Now, if we look at what's happening with the city council, as you said, we have potentially 3 seats available. Coming at the top of the polls for the city council race, consistently, as a matter of fact, has been Richard Cabaceres, Cliff Pont, and Joshua Font. Those are the 3 people that keep coming in high in the polls. Why? I don't know. I mean, I don't believe their platforms. They're all nothing there. But I think that they're looking at just right now grasping for something to reach on. My recommendation to anyone running for any office in Fall River is go to the Bernie Sanders School of Politicking, okay? Follow what this man is doing and truly start acting that way when dealing with the people of Fall River. Stop being arrogant, okay? We have a lot of candidates that are arrogant. We have a lot of candidates which are absolute wingnuts, and we have the perpetual candidates, okay? It's time to stop that. Start talking to the people of Fall River what they understand best, their pocketbook. Start talking to them real. Start talking to them with actual facts.
And absolutely, and listen to what the candidates just said. I've talked to all 3, and I know that Cabaceres has said he thought the city council was right in voting for the fees, and he thinks they did the right thing. So if you want the same, I would vote for him.
Yes.
I will tell you clearly I will not vote for that individual, because anybody who thinks that this city council acted in the best interest of the city by ignoring hundreds of people that told them they didn't want that fee, well, I don't want, you know, the only thing I'm replacing is the nameplate if I put him in the council.
Exactly.
And I have talked to the other 2, and so far, their platforms, they seem to be grasping the issues about the city and its financial condition. So do your homework.
That's it. Do your homework. Follow the money. Know where things are coming. Hey, we'll see you on Friday, and hopefully Friday we'll have a major announcement in regards to Spindle City Straight Talk. You have a great week. Thanks for watching.